Today is the launch of the Cosmic Consciousness Mystical Modalities series. Now, let me back up for just a moment. How this came about. When I began my private practice as a hypnotherapist, which is all I was doing, that was not my intention. It was simply a stepping stone because really what I wanted to do with my life and my career was to teach and guide people as I'm doing now. That was the original intent from the beginning. And so I had already written a couple of workbooks. It was giving free workshops on these topics, tarot, cosmic consciousness, etc. And when you attend one of my workshops, which are free, then you could buy a workbook to go along with what I was teaching. I had PowerPoint, visual slides, etc. And if you bought the workbook, you could go along with it and then you'd be able to take it home. And that was kind of its intent. And so the original drafts of most of these workbooks were written a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago, but went back in 2005, 2006, 2007. And here's the beauty. As I'm reading through Cosmic Consciousness to prepare for today's talk, last night I'm reading through it, and I'm kind of familiar with it anyway. I mean, I wrote it and I do look through it every once in a while anyway, because I got to keep up with all my stuff. And I'm impressed. I'm like, here it is, 15 years, 25, 30, 20 years later almost. And as I'm reading through it, I've had a few tiny updates over the years as I've kind of republished it, but I'm reading through it. I'm like, you know what? This is as good and correct as it was when I was 20 years younger. So it's not that I haven't learned more. It's that I wasn't willing to write down and publish anything that was absolutely correct to begin with. So I'm refreshed and impressed that the work that I did then is as valid and relevant today as it was then. And that has always been my goal. Because what we're talking about in mystical modalities is eternal truths, things that are evergreen and should always be the same. And so these things do not change. People change them. And that's what happens at the stage of Kali Yuga. People change them. And that's when things go off the rails. And of course, my mission within the underground stream process is to preserve, protect the original teachings of what these things were. Because I already know that with Kali Yuga, these things are going to evaporate. They will not be available at some point in the future. Generations to come, they will not even be known. And so I'm trying to postpone that. I can't stop Kali Yuga from destroying spirituality and religion and all that. But what I can do, what many of us can do, is slow it down. This is not the class or time and place to discuss Kali Yuga. We've done that before and we'll do it again in the future. It's always relevant. So we're going to dive into the two first workbooks that I created were Cosmic Consciousness and Above and Below. As a matter of fact, these two copies are to the original versions. The spiral back flip book with the shiny laminated cover and all that. These were the first time I made them. Now they're available in paperback on Amazon and throughout other places too, but these are usually more desirable. People prefer these if they can get them, but it's not cost effective now to produce these things. Back then, it was the most cost effective way. I could do this at Staples, and they're beautiful, and people like them. Now, the other ones, which I'll show you real quick, a couple. Here's the yoga book, the philosophy of yoga. And in this covers everything. This tiny workbook gives you a lot. Here's the paperback version, the newer version of the tarot book. Again, look at how thin this is. And you're thinking, how can I have good, accurate information? And here's the original Kabbalah book. This is the first one I ever made. Okay. And I've sold all the other ones, and I'm reluctant to sell the last one. I've had several requests, and I've ended up guiding them to the paperbacks that are available now that aren't quite as great as this, in my opinion, because these books have the pullouts. This is a laminated pullout of the tree of life and all the meditations and all the things that are in the book, so you can refer back and forth to it without having to flip back to an index, which is always annoying. This you could hold with you and look as you're reading it. People love these things. I loved it. So that's how the series started out. So the first books were Cosmic Consciousness and Above and Below. Introductory fundamentals on how consciousness works and the symmetry between physics and metaphysics. All my life, I'm a scholar, and I've always been fascinated by the what's the word I'm looking for? By the, I don't want to say similarities, by the marriage between science and spirit. I never saw them as separate. And what has gone wrong in the world is the fact that science sees itself as a separate thing from spirit and vice versa. And right early on in the book, we have a quote from Einstein: "Science without religion is lame, and religion without science is lost," I think he says. I got it quoted here in the book. It's early on. So what we're going to do is take a tour. If you have the book, you can have it along with this discussion. And if you don't, I suggest you get it. They're inexpensive. The ebooks are a couple few dollars. And the Cosmic Conscious one, I think, is free on the websites, life-mind.com, withintheportal.com. I think those are free right now. And because this is the introductory. The Above and Below is a couple dollars, and all the other workbooks are relatively inexpensive, very inexpensive for the ebook, and the print books are basically at cost. I mean, I make them just like maybe $1 of royalties for me, and I keep them at the cost so that people can buy them and get access to them. So let's take a tour. What's in the Cosmic Consciousness workbook? Let me share the screen. Big green button that says share. And there we go. Here's our table of contents. The topics we have: introduction. What is consciousness? How does consciousness work? The divine human, lightning rod of consciousness, reincarnation. Why don't we remember past lives? Life force, kundalini, and science of spirit. Mysticism, formula for cosmic consciousness, how mysticism works. For the initiated, practical examples, meditations, nothingness, everythingness, and life. Advanced meditations, mind 2, motion, and life 2. So I'm very deliberate. Even the table of contents, I always want to let people know what they're going to get. I don't do the bait and switch. And so for me, when I read some of these table of contents on a nonfiction manual or something, I know right away, I get a sense of what they're capable of. If I'm wondering what it's about and it's not intriguing, well, then I feel like I know what I'm in for. And I'm not interested, for me personally, I'm not that interested. Basically, I'm setting a tone and a pace. Oh, this is the wrong ebook. This is the old one. This is Jeep. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. I bring up the right one. Oh yeah. I just made a brand new one that I put on Amazon because this one had my ebook distributor in London had let me know. He said, "Yeah, these are JPEG pages, and we're having trouble with this." Anyway, now I got to find the right one. Pardon me. Here's my 2025s. Workbooks 2024. I don't think that's the correct one. Nope, that's the same. No, that's incorrect. All right, let me go to this tab. Let me go to this tab. Let me go to this tab. I got to get a little bit closer. Oh boy, I got some editing to do now. I'm going to take all this out of this little video. I apologize. Hang on, I'm getting there. Let's go into this. Let's go into the hard drive. EPUB. There we go. I have one that says 2025, so it's brand new. This is the one that I had to make a couple of days ago because my ebook distributor said to me, this is incorrect. So, all right, let me share the screen again. Let me get back on that. Who else do we have here today? I see somebody who's joined us. I can't see that. Oh, hey, Red.
He's been with us the whole time.
Well, good to hear. Good to see you there, man. Nice to have you, Randy. Do you like Randy or Red? You're answering, I don't know, because your audio is off and I'm looking for a type mess. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Nice to have you, man. It's good to see you again. Well, not see you, but it's good to have you again. So let me go back to sharing the screen. There we go. All right. That's much better, isn't it? So get introduction. Have you ever wondered why you are here? Why we're all here? At some point, we all wonder about the meaning of life. So again, we're jumping right into the very basic fundamental cause of our curiosity and pursuit of deeper knowledge. As a scholar and mystic myself, these are rather fundamental. I mean, I'm way past these questions. But ultimately, all the deeper, longer, the more I travel, the more I explore, the more I learn. It really comes down to these central questions. We want to know these things. Why are we here? What is my purpose? What am I here to achieve, attain, develop? What is my purpose? And this is all about our consciousness and mind. Are there forces in the universe that exist beneath and beyond what science can measure and know? 10 million Americans practice some form of meditation each and every day. Over twice that number of the Chinese population practice Tai Chi, an ancient system of spiritual energy awareness. So we're seeing that this is a trend, and it's been like this for a long, long time. Why? Why is there such an awareness of spiritually inclined practices and ideas permeating every corner of the globe? Is there corners on the globe? So what you get here, again, is understanding and definitions. Without having to go do all this research yourself, this book is providing you with what these things mean, where these terms come from. What does the word enlightenment mean right here? To really find enlightenment, we must know what the word even means. To bring light or to enlighten means to give information to. It means to free someone from ignorance and unknowing. Enlightenment is to be enlightened, to know. These again seem like such basic questions that we all seem to want to know. And yet, when you ask people as they're living their lives, if you ask these things, give them a moment to say, pause, simply think, give me a real answer, what you genuinely think of this question, what you think the answer is. And most people don't know. They've wondered it, but they have not gone down the rabbit hole to find the answers. They have some suspicions, they have some theories. And as part of the human condition, we can get frustrated and give up. And as I often quote one of Einstein's quotes, he said, I'm not smarter than anybody else. Let's just stay with the problem longer. Tenacity is the cornerstone of his genius, is what he's saying. I was refreshed to hear that because I may not be the smartest guy in the world either at all, but I am tenacious as hell. I just don't give up. I'm the pit bull that latches on to something and cannot stop. I've got to know. I'll do whatever it takes so I can know. I have in separate classes, and I won't go into it today. Well, it does relate to this cosmic consciousness. It actually relates to it quite well. So we'll go ahead and explain it real quick. As he's explaining, tenacity is my asset of genius, not being brilliant. I now know by studying consciousness and what this workbook explains, and it does use this example within the workbook. let me switch pages here, that as we focus, concentrate, and think, of course, we're burning calories. Did you know that you burn more calories when sleeping and dreaming than you do usually playing basketball? You're unconscious and your brain and mind are burning calories at a rapid rate. Since this uses our energy, and energy, what it's all about, we are built on energy. The entire universe, multiverse, infinite, eternal universe is built on and upon, structured with energy. We all know this. Again, Einstein established this as a fact. Theories of relativity, both of them, they are absolutely, emphatically, Newton, all of them have made it very clear to us that the entire universe is constructed upon energy, subtle energies. That's when we go a little bit deeper. And so as you think and focus and concentrate, whether it's on algebra or meditation, a mantra or a yantra, by focusing your mind, you are tapping into and using energy. Different energy for different things. If I'm doing algebra, well, I'm not using much energy because I'm not doing algebra. I suck at math and I don't like it. I never have, which is odd because I'm a numerologist. That's my favorite field of mystical modalities, numerology. And thankfully, it just relies on basic math. It doesn't rely much on long math. And so when we concentrate and focus, the entire point of meditation is not just to be peaceful. By focusing and channeling our attention to something specific, a one-minded type of focus, this is the tenacity that's been referred to. What happens is our brain, our neurological, physiological, biological, gray matter tissue that works on impulses, electrical charges, and synapses and all the rest uses energy. And when it becomes, you could say, exhausted, when it starts to extinguish and use the energy that it has access to easily, then it needs to dive into more. We've all heard of the so-called runner's high, where people that are running long marathons, how they do what they do is because they don't. They basically cross a line at some point where their brain completely shuts down, the body shuts down, everything is shutting down. And so the runner's high is that there's that so-called second wind where mind over matter takes over. They've tapped into a primordial energy source that is not physical. It is mental. It is emotional. It is something that is hypnagogic. This is prime examples of Einstein's theory, meditation, kundalini, all the things that we talk about here and every other area. That when we force our mind to focus and do things that are extraordinary, then it must tap into a source of energy that it does not normally tap into. And that source of energy, we could call it a spiritual energy. It is something that's more primordial, something that's more core and essential to who and what we are built on. Refer to as kundalini. It's within the chakras. Refer to anything you want. The bottom line is it is a material energy cosmically that is far more powerful than the energy we normally have access to. Again, like the runner's high. I experienced something like that in my own meditations and my scholarly work in complex spiritual ideas and concepts like Kabbalah and Tree of Life that are profound and can be very complicated. That at some point, again, when I would meditate for 20, 30 minutes, staring at a candle flame or a mantra, or a yantra on my wall, at some point, the lines between your materiality around you and the one that's within you begins to blur and begins to merge together. The entire point of a yantra and mantra is to merge these things together, where the separation between you and the object of meditation, the focal point, becomes distorted. And the separation, the boundaries between you evaporate. And I've experienced this. Literally meditating on candle flames. For the first 10, 15 minutes or whatever it may be, you're thinking like, what am I doing? I'm sitting standing, I look like a crazy person, sitting staring at a candle flame. I look like a patient in a hospital, staring at a candle flame. This is weird. And it is kind of weird. And then if you stay with it and with the right breath and other techniques combined with it, which helps a lot, transformation begins. You can physically feel your consciousness begin to alter and change and intensify and enhance itself. It becomes bigger, more expansive, focused. It becomes something different. And that is addicting. The upside is that when you experience it, when you begin to feel that oneness with the candle flame, it shocks you out of it. You're like, oh my God, because you're like, this is amazing, this is cool. Then your ego's back in. Suddenly your ego was, for a while, your ego was gone because you were so focused and you were so out of your mind from it. And then when you realize, oh my God, I'm actually doing this. I'm actually doing this. Your ego's back in and boom, it stops. You're like, damn, what did I do? And you think, okay, don't think about don't think about what you're experiencing. Just do it. It's a very Zen thing. Just do it. Nothing else. But then you're trying. And when you try, it doesn't work. You have to let it happen. Allow it. It's a combination. Intense focus combined with allowing it to occur. Let me get off this page. So many good quotes here. I was reading last night. I was like, wow, this is pretty fun. I kind of was tempted to just kind of reach right from this book and there's an image. That's Alex Gray, my favorite artist of cosmic materials. This is I don't remember the name of this one. It's on the next page, so I'm going to remember the name of it. That, to me, when I look at that, as someone that's experienced my crown chakra opening, exploding off the top of my head, I look at this image and I feel it. I know this artist gets it. I know that he's done it, because there's no way you can come up with this by theory. There's no way, because when I see this, I get a charge within. I know this person has felt it, because that is what expansion of consciousness feels like. You can feel it expanding from your skull. You become less body aware, and become consciousness itself, becoming one with it, an awareness, a pure, essential awareness. There are no boundaries. And as you can see in this image, the mind is just expanding outward. Or is it inward? Is it receiving or is it transmitting? Both are happening simultaneously. I love this image. I love all of Alex Gray's work. I got to meet him a couple times. So what is consciousness? Oh, that's called Oversoul, 1998-99. Consciousness is a matrix of thought and awareness, a network of psyche and mind. Consciousness is like a storm that hovers like the primordial waters of creation above the earth, and it permeates everything. Let me move this out of the way. It has no center. It has no circumference. It cannot be found, yet it is everywhere. We are, each and all of us, vehicles of consciousness and points of awareness of the one mind. To be human is to have physical form. But to be human is also to be conscious. Consciousness is defined as the state of being awake and aware. But just that what our awareness consists of can vary by degrees from one person to another. This made me pause as I recalled, what's coming up here. I don't want to jump too far ahead. I don't want to give away the story here. Let me see what's coming up. Let's flip a page here. I can jump around. To be conscious, to be human. And let me go back to that line. But to be human is also to be conscious. To be human is to have physical form. We are not just consciousness. We are not just spirit. We have physical form. We are confined within physical form. But to be human is also to be conscious. That made me have a moment of guilt as I lovingly and humorously refer to us as stupid humans within the portal. We've all used this term. It's part of our little cult group following. We refer to as stupid humans. We get a good kick out of that. And because anyone that's not enlightened is a stupid human. That's not derogatory. That's just a fact. We're not bad people. We're just stupid humans. We're limited in our consciousness because we're human beings. And a section coming up within this workbook is divine human. And I know this. And so as I read this, I'm remembering that the divine human part that's coming up in the book. And I'm remembering that we are also divine. To be human is to be conscious. And the point of conscious to establish, remember, connect with the awareness that you are divine, a divine soul. Your soul is divine. Your mind is immaterial. Consciousness is made of the material matter, material phenomena. Again, it is the matrix of thought and awareness within the material phenomena. Your soul is divine, but everything else about you is part of the material phenomena. Our consciousness is the bridge. It's what can perceive, contemplate, think about, and be aware of the divine, our eternal selves that is not just matter and material. If the universe is really a matrix of consciousness, and we are each a mere pinpointed part of this matrix, then isn't it possible to perceive the whole matrix? Not just conceptually. What I'm proposing, suggesting in this little paragraph at the end of this chapter is, can we know it? Again, not just academically. Academically, when I think of the cosmos, the infinite and eternality of it, I begin to shut down. Parts of my brain I can feel, they're saying, like, you know what? I can't grasp all that. That's way beyond me. It's overwhelming. And that's what I get off on. I love the complete overwhelming confoundment of something that I cannot figure out, I cannot grasp. That gets me high. I get intoxicated off of that. So is it possible to perceive the whole matrix? To become universally aware? To expand our consciousness along with the ever-expanding universe and ride on its coattails, so to speak, to experience infinity with our own consciousness? The answer is yes, it is possible. And that's what this book and these classes are about. How does conscious work? That's the first one we better understand. Many things in the material world, such as a car, let's use that. You don't even know how it works. You know how to drive it. And let's face it, many people on the road don't. They don't know how. At least they don't know how to do it well. And yet they can go buy them. You got to take a test because it is a lethal machine. And yet, let's face it, you drive around, you're like, how did this person ever get a drive? Holy crap, it's shocking. So in the material world, in the dense realm of matter, it is not essential to understand how something works to be able to use it. To transcend the dense matter material world, we do need to know how it works. Knowledge is power. With knowledge, we can become motivated, we become intrigued, we become passionate to be able to pursue and use it. And again, example, I get off on it by trying to unravel the mysteries. And again, it doesn't do that for math. Math, I don't give a shit about, honestly. I mean, I'm not like, oh God, I got to know how to do algebra and trigonometry. I honestly don't. But when I'm not interested, I'm not curious. If I was, I guess I'd be able to do it. But I'm just not interested. I got a calculator for that. I don't need anything else. But the other stuff, I got to figure it out myself. I got to know it. And as I learn the academics, the knowledge, the mechanics the methods, the way it functions and works, it empowers me. Again, I don't need to know how electricity works to be able to use a light switch and be able to appreciate it. Because I'm not an electrician. That's not my field. That's my field of interest or passion. I'm not trying to become that. If I was, then I would. But consciousness is my fascination. I want to expand, explore its depths. I want to realize its most potential. I'm fascinated by it. So therefore, I got to know how it works, because everything you know how it works begins to, again, enhance, motivate, empower you. It gives you angles to consider, methods that you can succeed with better by knowing how they work. This chapter, this part of the book, when I say chapter, you can see how small they are. Pretty small stuff. Now this one go there. Move this again. There's a divine human. So what I was, again, as I was reviewing the book and as I'm reviewing it here, I mean, honestly, to this day, many years after writing this book, this workbook, I'm thinking, I don't need to teach a class. That's why I wrote these books. What I know, what you need is in here. I like to elaborate on them. I like to give you deeper shades of what's in there. But the challenge for me and the honor of it is to be able to take these complicated, difficult, challenging, wide range of ideas and concepts and knowledge and distill them to something that's simple and easy to understand. And as I've often pointed out, that's my forte, I guess, my passion. I worked my ass off studying physics, metaphysics, consciousness, psychology, history, biology, everything. Worked my ass off all my life, consuming volumes of materials and books. And a third of them were not a waste of time, but a third of them were like, well, that wasn't very productive. But I had to go through the bad stuff to do the good stuff. I had to, because I was looking for the good stuff, looking for the right stuff. And you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So I'm diving into different fields of study and different authors and different manuals because I'm looking for the truths. And again, I don't know them, so I don't know what they are. So I went through a process of trial and error to get to them. And what I'm doing now with my life and my career is to provide those to you so you don't have to go through read through volumes and volumes of them. This I don't have page numbers on it. This, what is it? 20 page workbook explains all of these things in detail. And I try to do it in a fun way. Instead of reading like a mathematics academic book that's all dry and boring, I try to make it conversational. Again, that's my forte, that's my style. I think that goes wrong. As I read many academic books of knowledge, of things I really want to know, is they make them so boring. I'm a big fan and fascinated by ceremonial magic, Dodo Templi Orientis. I read Aleister Crowley, Israel Regardie. I studied their books, and Israel Regardie is a good example. Brilliant, brilliant Kabbalist. Brilliant. Probably the best in the world of history. I mean, he's just absolutely amazing. Garden of Pomegranates is a big, thick book. And it is got everything you need to know in Kabbalah is in there. This guy is the master at it. But then, even when I was younger and now, as I read this, I'm like, it's challenging because I get bored. I want something exciting. It's very knowledgeable, but it's rather monotone. It's knowledge. I'm not having an experience. I'm not having fun. And I've found that myself and everyone else. When knowledge isn't fun, we don't stay as focused. We lose our attention, It's true with everything. This is how we're designed. It's not our fault. This is why knowledge is becoming secondary. People want to be entertained. The YouTube algorithms and what's being hammered to us in the news and everything else is just that which is more entertaining, which is easy and accessible. It sells because we have short attention spans. What I work my ass off to do is create books and workbooks and content that you can be entertained by. Hopefully this is entertaining and you're enjoying as we talk about it. Because I'm a real person. I'm not speaking to you like a monotone teacher in front of a classroom. I'm going to tell some jokes. I'm going to make fun things. I'm going to get emotional because these things do have emotion. When we get our emotions involved, then we tap into a different source of energy, a more profound one that has layers to it. There's our intellectual mind, then there's our emotional mind. There's the Buddhi, and then there's the Buddha when we transcend it. When we involve all parts of our consciousness is when we really get to feel and be able to tap into layers of it, levels of it that aren't normally available to us. The divine human. Let me move this out of the way. To be human is to have physical form. Physical form is defined as specific tissues that constitute specific organs, groups of organs, make systems and groups of systems, make an organism, excuse me, an orgasm, if you do it right. So science tells us, see, now you can't get that from an academic book, that'll be edited out. I probably will have to edit that out. You know? A Freudian mistake, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that's a Freudian mistake. That guy had no sense of humor. The funniest thing he ever said was a cigar, sometimes just a cigar. An organ is a distinct unit composed of various tissues with a specific structure and function, i.e., one kind of tissue makes the liver, one sort makes the kidney, etc. Let's jump ahead. Well, again, what we have in this chapter is discussing where does life begin? Does it begin in conception? Or does it begin at the decision of life, of a life-creating act? When the two people coming together to copulate? Or can we look even further back to when they meet? Say 2 hours earlier at the temple bar. How about 2 hours earlier? How about hours earlier when she decided to wear those heels and he his lucky green striped shirt? When they decide to go out that night or get up that morning? The possibilities are endless and all are equally significant. This section breaks down the process of creation of life. And again, I've done this in 3 pages, and here's a little image that shows you from conception to the 49th day, all the necessary parts exist for a human being. The actual size is no larger than a thumbnail. So this embryo, by 49 days after conception, has all the necessary parts. The pineal gland is finally formed on the 49th day, which, by the way, again, look at the parallels. The pineal gland, called pineal because it resembles a pine cone. That's the Greek origin of it. But the pineal gland by the ancient Greeks was referred to as the seat of consciousness. It is indeed where the soul enters the body is through the crown chakra, the top of the skull. Its lightning rod, which I actually have a chapter coming up called the lightning rod of consciousness, is this pineal gland that exists right here within our third eye center. Our ajna chakra is the projection of the pineal gland. Pineal gland is the physical aspect. The third eye chakra, ajna, is the subtle body aspect of it. Same things, different forms. The Vedas, Upanishads, and all the texts that teach us about reincarnation and and consciousness and all these kind of things are very emphatic that generally reincarnation occurs on the 49th day. This is when the soul inhabits, descends from the portal dimension to take manifestation within a physical form. The body is forming, the soul is not there. It is within the portal, the in-between space. On the 49th day, when the pineal gland is formed, is when consciousness begins. The soul permeates the matter and consciousness, and it ignites and starts consciousness. This is demonstrated to us again and again and again through history. How long was the Buddha underneath the Bodhi tree to become enlightened? 49 days. Coincidence? I don't think so. How long was Yeshua the Christ time in the wilderness before he began his mission? 49 days. Coincidence? I don't think so. How long was the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, within the cave before he received the instruction from the Archangel Michael? 49 days. Are they copying each other? Is it coincidence? Sages, saints, and avatars provide us with examples. Part of their mission to enlighten us to the truths is to demonstrate them. Literally, one of the ways these sages and saints teach you to know the difference between the right teachings and the wrong ones is, does your teacher, does your master teach you things that contradict the eternal truths? If they do, then they're incorrect. Don't follow them. Or do they coincide with, support, and can be backed up by and verified by the eternal scriptures? I don't like scripture because it makes it sound too mystical and unsure. I like text. I look at the Upanishads and the Vedas as scripture. The Vedas, literally Veda means knowledge. And that's what they are. They are the volumes of knowledge within the Sanatana Dharma philosophy, eternal, and Sanatana Dharma, which is the true name of Hinduism, means eternal truth. That's the name of it, a religion, so supposedly. So I'm not saying that it's an absolute fact. You reincarnate 49 days after the day you die. Generally, that is the standard operating procedure. There are many ways that can be altered and changed. But your rebirth in one form or another happens around the 49th day. Whether you go to a heavenly abode, a celestial abode, back to the middle realm of matter by being born a human, an animal, a plant, whatever. So again, within this chapter, we're seeing, how does it work? And I'm giving you the biological, genealogical, chemical aspects of this, which again, for me, do not negate the science, the physical science that we get in laboratories. Only blows my mind and says, oh my God, it all lines up. They support each other. Science, again, as Einstein said, is blind without religion, and religion, or say, I just had that quote, I don't have it in front of me. Here's Einstein, not a theologue, a physicist. They're notoriously, even if they have spiritual beliefs, they stay away from them. It's not their field. They don't want that to compromise their character and their reputation within the scientific community. Einstein was so established, he obviously didn't care. By the way, he became vegetarian at the end of his life too. For the same thing, for spiritual reasons, more than any other. By understanding the mechanics, the science of how things work, it opens doors for us. We get those aha moments. And aha moments are intoxicating. This is, again, verification. This is how conscious works. By encouraging you, by giving you a spark of pleasure to pursue more. We pursue pleasure and we avoid pain. Explained in our last couple workshops on changing our lives by changing our mind. We pursue pleasure, we avoid pain. And when we get the aha moment, that is like a little mini mental orgasm, then we want more. I mean, let's face it, for procreation, that's why sex feels so good, because we want more. That's why we have an overpopulated world. Way overpopulated. We are not going to stop global warming by maintaining environment or doing any kind of environmental work. We need to slow down the population. That's a bottom line. It's not going to happen any other way. That's one other topic. I'm not going to get into the political aspect of this. Not today. Not now. Stop having 5 and 10 kids. My God. Chill the fuck out. You'll do a better job and they'll have a better experience with you as a parent if you just have 1 or 2. It's more intimate, it's more personal, it's way more fun. I see you there, Randy. You got something to say? Did I hit a nerve? Or did I give you some interest?
No,
All right.
I was laughing.
Huh?
Laughing.
Good. All right, let's move on. Lightning rod of consciousness. I don't hear you very well. Your volume's way down. That's right. All right. Oh, I can hear myself feedback, so you might have to mute that.
Brady, will you turn your audio off?
Yeah, you have to turn your audio off until you speak because it's giving me feedback. The lightning rod of consciousness. Now we get into in this chapter, and again, we're looking at everything I'm sharing with you. This is all done in detail in this fun way. Everything I just explained about the pineal gland. It's all explained in this lightning rod of consciousness. Everything that is spiritual, look how I'm air quoting there. Everything that's mystical has a physical, material component to it. This is where we get the whole concept of as above, so below, which is our next workbook, and hopefully we're going to get to some of that today. As above, so below. That the macrocosm is reflected as a mirror image in the microcosm. That what happens below on the material realm is just a reflection, a denser form of the ethereal, the divine, the spiritual, a reflection. Let's look at that for a moment. This is a classic tool that I've used throughout the years to explain to people about meditation and developing consciousness. When I look at my window, I have this beautiful view. I don't know if you can see it with the glare. When I look at my window, I have all these trees. I can see down to the valley. I live in a very agriculture area in Salinas. It's just gorgeous. My window is pretty clean. It's kind of high up, so it's kind of hard to wash on the outside. And it's a big window, and I have this panoramic view of everything else that's out there. I can see. And yet, it's not the real thing. It is somewhat distorted because I'm inside looking through glass. No matter how clean that glass is, it is not as clear as it is if I was outside. In a similar way, if I am in the woods, if I'm in the forest, if I'm up, as I've done backpacking in the high Sierras, magical experiences there. High Sierras, and I come across a lake or a pond that there isn't another human anywhere near me, 10 miles away. I'm 5 miles, I'm 10,000 feet up. 5 miles from anybody else, maybe more. And here I am at a lake or a pond high up in the Sierras. And there's this perfect reflection of the sky above. The clouds, the sun, whatever, the birds going, whatever's up above is reflected perfectly in this still water. Perfect reflection. As above, so below. And yet, the reality is, it is somewhat distorted. It is not the real thing. It may be a perfect reflection, but it is not the actual perfect thing. To do that, I must lift my head up, gaze above, turn my gaze to the heavens, not to the earth. And by the way, when I look up, I do not get a reflection of what's down below. The above reflects into the below, but the below does not reflect into the above. They're separate. I am mesmerized by the gorgeousness of the reflection in the body of water. I don't look up and realize it's not the real thing and think that it's a waste of time. That I need to be at my head to the sky. I appreciate both, the relationship they have. And as you guys know me, I can be very passionate and be very emotional about things because it gets my spirit up. I have sat by some of these bodies of water in the high Sierras and just had tears in my eyes because of where I'm at. I am here. I get to witness this. I had a profound 20-minute moment having some trail mix sitting at the edge of a little running stream, 10,000 feet up in the Sierras. The last day of our backpacking trip, me and my son, me and Brandon. And I was just sitting there having my trail mix. Maybe we had some coffee or oatmeal, we have our little camping gear, we're backpacking. And I'm sitting there just having my trail mix, very tired, knowing it's my last day. And I'm looking at this stream of water flowing down over the rocks and thinking, what a beautiful miracle this is. How amazing. And how goddamn blessed am I to be witnessing this. I'm watching this. This water has been doing this for thousands of years before I was here at this moment. And it'll do this for thousands of years after I'm gone in a minute. And every day it's here doing the exact same thing, being this beautiful, whether anybody sees it or not. It has no appreciation. It doesn't do it for that. It simply is gorgeous all the time. And I realized that by the end of this day, I'm going to be getting to my car and driving home back to the city. Population, stupid humans, including myself. And this will be gone. And I am exalted with the intoxication of the joy and bliss of this miracle. And realizing in a philosophical way, my mind just gets fascinated. And I'm thinking, this thing is here for thousands of years and will be long after I'm gone. After all we're gone, it'll still be here. Been running this water through here for thousands of years. It's always here doing the same thing. And yet, every instant, not moment, instant, it looks different. Because water is flowing. What I'm seeing in this moment is not what I'm seeing the next moment. Every instant, the water I'm seeing traveling by is different. What I saw in this instant is now down there. It's ever changing and yet ever the same. And that blew my mind. And I'm sitting there with my son having trail mix. He's a little young boy at the time, probably 9, 10 years old. I really put him through a lot, backpacking at 9, 10 years old in the high Sierras, which made him the firefighter man that he is today. And I'm thinking, I am a weird psychonaut. I am sitting here tripping balls on the philosophy of this stream. I'm not just sitting here having trouble. I am like in this deep mystical state of consciousness, fascinated and absorbed by, and having this Zen-like focus and beautiful experience with this very personal and intimate relationship with this force of nature. And I'm in tears. I'm in love. I am in love with this little stream. And I feel like she loves me too. This, the above and below. Again, so we may not get to it. This is the other workbook, which I have queued up also in this share screen, that explains this relationship. The lightning rod of consciousness, again, is to understand how and why conscious functions within our brain. That the subtle energies and the subtle realm of matter becomes more densified and solid as it permeates into the material set and the material realm. Again, altitude. What I love about the high Sierras is that the air is thin. One time when Brad and I were hiking Mount Gorgonio in Southern California, one time he got altitude sickness. All the other time, never had it. When he did, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was happening because we'd never done it before. When I saw it happening, I got a little freaked out. Then I was like, oh my God, he's got altitude sickness. Thank God I realized. And again, he was probably 9, 10 years old. All my memories are, he's like eternally 9 or 10 on these excursions. Because the air's so thin. And we walked up this Mount Gorgonio so quickly to see some mountain goats. We got to see them too. It's pretty amazing. They're absolutely amazing. And the air's so thin, his body was not getting enough oxygen. So his brain was shutting down and he got sick, literally sick, like throwing up, had to lay down. I was really worried. Put a tent in the middle of the day, put him out there and let him sleep. And then he felt great. His body needed to adjust to the altitude because the air is thin. What we loved about going to the high Sierras is because we are so far removed from collective consciousness, people, and civilization that it's very pure, very clean. It's not polluted or convoluted or confused. And I'm not saying that that's everyone is. Whether consciousness that surrounds you is good or bad is not the point. In the city, Los Angeles, for God's sakes, where I lived, collective consciousness is like having 30 different radios on at the same time at different stations. Especially as a medium, supernaturalist, and metaphysical guy, I'm perceiving and receiving all these transmissions. I'm feeling and perceiving thoughts, feelings, emotion, and consciousness from my neighbors. And I live in a populated area. 150,000 people in the suburb that I live. That's a suburb in LA. 150,000 people. The capital of Switzerland is a smaller population. And so whether they're good thoughts or bad thoughts, not the point. There were times when, and I'm pretty hardy stock, so I'm not overwhelmed and shut down. But certainly I like being up in the altitudes and in the country because I have less telepathy taking place and exchanging with collective consciousness. It's just cleaner. And again, about not good or bad. Unfortunately, much of the consciousness that's within a community or a city is not necessarily good or, again, I don't say good or bad. It's not the things that I like to be involved with. This section of this book explains how these things work and how to get them to work for you. Again, I'm able to get more out of these events in my life because I understand the science of them. I know how to put them together. Here's a little figure that explains the pineal gland and how it works and all that. So we get some images stuff in the workbooks too. Pictures are always nice. Here we go with the subtopic. The pineal gland is the contact point for human consciousness. Again, it's the flashpoint. It's the lightning rod. This explains within the Book of the Dead, Tibetan Book of the Dead, and other texts, how this is established. And here I have something, let's dive into this for a moment. In the 7th week, 2 climactic events occur that truly complete human development. 1, sexual organs are formed, determining male or female. Pineal gland is formed. Both of these events occur on the 49th day after conception. Again, coincidence? I don't think so. Does science make it this way? Do they teach it this way because it just fits a different narrative or agenda? Nope, that's just the way it is. I'm seeing as a scholar and spiritualist, I'm seeing the connection, I'm seeing the symmetry and the parallels. And I'm like, whoa, really? The sexual organs too? For me personally, as being very deeply involved with tantric sexual practices and appreciating the nuances and the energies that you can tap into with sexual practice and sexual yoga, this is very significant to me. I was very surprised to learn the pineal gland formed on the 49th day and all that with the Buddhas and all that. That was mind-blowing. But then I realized, well, then I also learned the sexual organs formed then too. So again, your sexual organs at conception, during up to the 49th day, can go either way. You're androgynous. You're not either male or female. On the 49th day, you become male or female. Your sexual organs either develop outwardly into a penis or inwardly as a vagina. That's the difference. And so these two things happening on the same day after conception is undeniable. It's pretty mind-blowing. Let's go to another area. Now, the ebook. Okay, I just have to click on the image. Just want to give you a show of what that is. So here we have an image within the book that gives you a very beautiful image of how the physical body correlates to the subtle body. Let me move this out of the way. You have the chakras here, showing them from front and back and where they relate to the spinal column. Because the entire text prior to this, I'm explaining to you how the spinal column and spinal nerves, the called Ida and Pingala in Sanskrit, and called the ascending and descending nerve in neurology, your upward and downward traveling neurology from your brain to your coccyx. This is what the subtle body system is built upon. Again, is it just luck, coincidence that these ancients thousands of years ago were able to understand the correlation between physical neurology and subtle body energy? I don't think so. Before we had microscopes and x-ray machines, the ancients are depicting this in these imagery, showing us specifically how it works. So this image shows, what I found was a very good image of showing the chakra system. And you can see on the top, the Sahasrara, the top of the crown, where the pineal gland is, and the bottom root chakra that are two single points, and the other ones go in and out. They're from the front and back because they're transmitting and receiving energy. They don't just do one. They're two-way simultaneously. It's not they give energy and receive energy one after the other. In some ways it is. It's like breath. You breathe in, you're receiving. You breathe out, you're giving it back. Subtle body energy is much like this. It comes in, it regenerates, it circulates, it goes through all the other systems, and then you put it back out. Your chakras are always receiving and transmitting at the same time. And again, this is showing you the fun of how this corresponds to your physiology. And then we jump to reincarnation. Why don't I remember past lives? And even as I was kind of reviewing my workbook last night, I came to this, I'm like, so why did we just jump from pineal gland and biology and neurology and to reincarnation? Well, this section was essential. As I write these books and as I teach classes on them, what happens is this. Why within the portal is such a massive volume of content is because as I explain something, I stop and I'm like, well, that's not fair. If you are the reader on this, the first thing I'd be saying is like, why? What is it? How does this function? And so therefore, I'm giving the answers before they're asked. And that's why I think most of the time when I'm asking people if they have questions as we're giving these presentations and classes, and people don't usually have them, is because I'm answering before they're asked, which creates a bigger text. So the reincarnation factor and why don't we remember past lives is intimately tied into how conscious works. What we know, what we don't know, how we know and how we don't. Why are some people smarter than others? Why are people more capable than others? Why was Einstein have this tenacity and genius factor? Why am I not that way? I have the same gray matter that he does, same neurons, and all those kind of things. So why do I not have the capacity that he does? Why do some people have less capacity than I do? Why am I fascinated and drawn to metaphysics and he was drawn to physics? All these answers are actually contained within the philosophy, I don't like to use that word, the science of, the understanding of how reincarnation functions, how it works. It is a very important integral part of our design. Neurologically, physiologically, consciously, metaphysically, psychologically, all areas of our existence are intimately tied into and understandable when we understand reincarnation. Now, keep in mind, when I was young, I was once. When I was younger, I was raised with a New Age mom before New Age was a term. She was the hippie kid in the neighborhood, I guess you could say, tarot reading and all that. And I thought it was like, it was okay. I thought she was a little wacky. And so I was raised with concept of reincarnation. She talked about it a lot, her and her friends. And I thought it was cute. I thought it was charming. I didn't really buy into it. I went to a very common understanding that life is energy. That I grasp, problem, no problem. And that when you die, your energy becomes one with the other energy that's in the universe, that the universe is made of energy. And so therefore, you just kind of recycle. That's how I perceived it. Reincarnation, past lives for me, up until I was 25, was just an interesting concept that I didn't totally buy into. And then at 25, my kundalini event occurred, and I had an instant past life regression. Several of them happened all at once over a span of a couple months. And suddenly I went from reincarnation being an interesting theory to, oh my God, it's a fact. Matter of fact, one of my little quotes within the portal is, reincarnation is a fact, yo. It ain't a theory. It ain't a concept. It's a fact, yo. And when you understand how and why it works, you will see logically and sensibly, not by argument. That's the only way things can work. It is literally the only way that explains so much of who and what we are all the time. It answers so many questions. We understand how reincarnation functions and works. You unravel some of the most profound and complex, dark mysteries of your existence. It answers them emphatically. Suddenly, when you understand how reincarnation works, which again is very well explained within the portal, I'd say a good third of the book is about reincarnation in some form or another. And there's one chapter, Reincarnation 101, that explains exactly how it works. It's like 10 pages. It explains very well. Because when you understand how reincarnation works, the mechanics of it, and why, it just puts everything into place. Suddenly, all these things that you didn't quite understand, that you didn't even think you were curious about, you're like, oh my God, that explains a lot. That explains a whole lot of stuff for my life, for the way I think, the way that I am. Karma and sanskars, past life experience, past life attitudes, and mentalities and knowledges. All these things coalesce together. This is intimately tied into required knowledge to understand how your consciousness works. You cannot separate. Reincarnation from understanding consciousness and spirit. Now, let me qualify that. Reincarnation is a wide concept. It's not necessarily just being reincarnated as a human being, or even an animal, or a tree, or a plant. All those are possible. You've been all of them, and you will be all of them again if you're not careful and make some spiritual progress. So all that's very viable. And yes, indeed, you can be spirit, ghost, you can become a demigod and all kinds of other things as well. What you can't become is mindless matter, because you have a soul. That is your core. That is eternal, and that is divine, perfect and unblemished. Your soul can take on many different shapes in reincarnation. Again, plant, animal, mineral. No, not mineral. Sorry, plant, animal. Anything that's living is how you can reincarnate. What you can't reincarnate into is mineral, is anything that's not living. And again, to understand the science of this, I would have to theorize that maybe fate and destiny had a major role in my past life regression experience at 25, because it was going to become essential information for me. I wasn't pursuing it. I wasn't interested in it. It didn't mean anything to me. And it happened, which was more shocking, because since I didn't believe in it and there it was happening, I couldn't deny it. Because it wasn't, again, like power of suggestion where because I believed it was happening, because I didn't accept it. And again, I wasn't like vehemently against it either. I was just rather indifferent about the subject. And then clarify that my reincarnation, my passive regression was not just some abstract memories. I was watching it like a cinema, like a video, like pictures. And my memories were as real and verifiable as the ones that I have in this lifetime. They were not vague, they were not ambiguous, they were not cloudy or shrouded. Some of them were, as all memories are, but most of them were clear as day. It was shocking. It was quite a tumultuous time. And I embraced it. I was like, wow, I just got a major hold on to my existence that I didn't even look for. I wasn't even studying it, and this came to me. So reincarnation is in this book because it is a central factor in understanding how consciousness works. Again, the mechanics of it. As I say within the portal at one point, your identity is the sum total of every thought and experience you've had up to this moment. And now this one, and now this one, now this one. An eternal present. You, who and what you are, is your identity, is the conglomeration of thoughts, emotions, and events of your entire existence up to this moment. That's what makes you who you are. Your past. As a man who had lost his memory and had no awareness of what happened before my accident, I had no identity. I was a priori. That is, again, a Latin term, somewhat philosophical, somewhat scientific, for a concept that has no origin. The a priori concept has always fascinated me. I read a story by Ray Bradbury, I think it was when I was a kid. And it was about a little blue baby, blue ball. He was a baby because he was existing in a different dimension. And it was called the a priori. It was where I first learned the term about a priori. The weird thing is, I just saw a rerun from a 1980 show for Ray Bradbury that had this exact story. And I was like, oh my God, I remember this. And it all came back. So again, a priori, that without a past set of experiences, thoughts, and emotions, you don't exist. You are the sum total of these things. Why you are different than everybody else is because your experiences, thoughts, and emotions are different than anybody else's. We both can fall in love, have an accident, graduate college, whatever. We all have similar experiences. And yet, how we think and feel about them modifies and changes them. Two people can have the exact same classes, graduate on the same day at school. All things can be very virtually identical. And with identical twins, most of it is identical, literally identical. Same days, events, etc. And yet, like snowflakes, the difference is in the subtleties, how they perceive them. We can both, there was Branin and I, both of us staring at this body of water streaming along up in the high Sierras. And I'm having this profound set of events in my mind, exalting from it. He's 9 or 10 years old. He's not having the same experience. I'm not forcing it on him. I'm not forcing him to, hey, look at how beautiful and philosophical this is. Too much for him at 9, 10 years old. I shared it with him sweetly, in an innocent way, just so we could maybe appreciate and remember it, and I think it worked. But again, we're both seeing the exact same thing and having a different experience based on our perspectives, our age, our personalities, all these things that combine together to make us who and what we are. Understanding this is the portal to perspective of who and what we are and what we are becoming every day, what we can become instead of. Do we want to become more of what we're becoming now or become less of it? I redirected my life somewhat earlier around there, around 25. I was already in pursuit of some spiritual things, but more as a fascination, more because I thought it was cool and because I enjoyed it and I thought it was interesting. After my kundalini event and this past life regression, it went from an interest and passion and a hobby to my life mission. I wanted to experience and remain and maintain an enlightened, illuminated state of mind and consciousness. That's all that mattered. became my obsession. That's my identity, what we associate with, and why. I now know that my kundalini event, my mystical knowledge, my fascination, my ability to understand complex things and be able to devour and become a virtual master and expert in so many different fields of mysticism and spirituality is because I have past life experience with them. It's all stored in there in my own personal Akashic records. And when I dive into this lifetime, they all kind of get refreshed. We all have this happen. We read something or study something or watch a movie or something and realize, oh my God, I saw this before. It all comes back. How often do you learn something new and feel like you're not learning it new, but remembering it? That again, that endorphin rush that we get from learning something new, that aha moment, intoxication, is because you have learned it before. You're an eternal soul. What have you not learned before? Eternal. You've done it all, been there, done that with everything, and so have I. We just don't remember. But when you do something that's similar, it can sometimes evoke and activate that memory, that recall. This is familiar to me, like deja vu on a mystical level. Moving on. Here again, we go back into some aspects of the spine. And this goes a little bit deeper into the kundalini event. And this shows a picture of the coccyx, the tailbone. Now, the kundalini, I'm not going to go too deep into this. We have our separate class for that. The kundalini is represented by this. The kundalini is the serpent. Quote 3.5 times. That's how its image is depicted. The kundalini power is depicted as an image of a serpent called 3.5 times upon itself. 3.5 times. 3.5, very specific. Look at this coccyx. It is said to reside in a dormant state. This primordial, powerful energy is said to reside in a dormant state within the coccyx, within the tailbone, within the Muladhara chakra, the base and bottom of our being. And when we look at the manifestation, the physical, material aspect of this, we see the coccyx. Now, I don't know if you can see, but I'm going to use the pointer. 1, 2, 3.5. 3.5 sections of the coccyx. This is where your ascending and descending nerve come to a point. This is where they come from, and this is what the channeling from our brain to our body, everything that transmits within your body, your neurology, happens along these two channels. And again, the ancients are writing this in detail, calling them, instead of the ascending and descending nerve, as we do in Western science, calling it the Ida and Pingala, the ascending and descending nerve, the ascending and descending channels of subtle bodies to spiritual energy. Again, saying a Kundalini class, we're going to move on from it, showing you what's in this book. Oh, well, it's such a big topic. And of course, the staff of Hermes, the caduceus. This is our contemporary symbolism of medical science. Everyone's aware of this. Everyone knows the symbol. It's on your prescription bottles, on your prescription pads, at your doctor's office. Look at it. What does it show? It shows a serpent with 7 different, one for each chakra, 7 coils around the staff, which is the spinal column, with wings on the top, showing liberation. A crown knob at the top of the staff, representing illumination and enlightenment. So we have a whole world that knows the symbol, sees it every day, all the time. Doctors and PhDs and college graduates, they use this thing all the time. When you talk to your local specialist, somebody that's very well informed and educated in their special field of, let's say, neurology or anything in the medical field, and ask them about what the staff of Hermes really is, they will simply tell you that it is represented from Thales and the ancient Greek systems of medicine, and that represents healing. They don't know anything about that it comes from the Sanatan Dharma, Kundalini Yoga, philosophies and practices to be able to attain enlightenment. That the ultimate healing in medicine is consciousness. Mind over matter. What we think we become. I guess I'm a little upset. This is a good strong chapter here. So this was just an image that I came up with, and I'm just trying to demonstrate. Somebody had a tattoo of that. Thought about getting one myself. Then we go to the science of spirit. Again, talking about the DNA, how it's found in every cell, how the force just work together. So what I'm doing in this text is I'm again giving you the marriage, showing you that they're not separate fields, that they're both one field in two angles, two aspects. And then we get into the final sections of the book, mysticism. The formulae for cosmic consciousness. The uniting factor between the mind and God is love, not intellectuality. His Divinity Swami Prakashananda Saraswati, my Swami, my teacher. This book concludes with this mystical section, explaining what mysticism is. The difference between mysticism and religion. Religion is about worship, dogmatic, formal processes to be able to appreciate and honor the spiritual realm and that which is given to us, what we experience, the teachings, the knowledge, etc. Mysticism is an internal experience. If religion is external, it's exported. We're taking the outside, we're bringing it in. We're knowing it. It is complete duality. It is there and I am here. Mysticism is a general term for the spiritual aspect, the spiritual process of union. So rather than knowing and duality, it's about monism, oneness, as the Buddha taught about enlightenment, becoming one with everything. What did the Buddha say to the hot dog vendor? I'll have one with everything, please. Make me one with everything. So mysticism is a kind of a loose term. And again, I've always been trying to, throughout my career in life as a spiritualist and as a teacher, to give terms that we can differentiate. And even in my Project Addiction book, I give a different chapter for every drug that's out there. And clearly, when you read the book and take the video course, you can kind of sense that, okay, I know he's saying that drugs are all bad, and yet when he writes a chapter on LSD and psychedelics, it doesn't seem like he's making it sound too bad, because I am definitely honoring and celebrating them because I think they have good benefits. So what I call narcotics is different from what the government calls narcotics. So narcotics in the government is everything, including marijuana, but not alcohol, which is kind of hypocritical. Marijuana is considered a narcotic. To me, it's too broad. I don't consider LSD or marijuana a narcotic. A narcotic is a drug or intoxicant that simply provides you with feelings of pleasure and creates an attachment. Just pleasure. That's all it gives you. Nothing profound. What I refer to in Project Addiction as a takeaway, what you can take away from it. All you get from heroin is feeling good. It ain't philosophical. It ain't profound. It's not theological at all. But I'll tell you, I've done it. Boy, does it feel good. I can't explain to you how much it feels good. It is like having no pain anywhere in your mind or body, and you never have. Never. You are in complete, total contentment with heroin. But then it wears off, of course. Now you're back in the world. All it is give you pleasure. LSD, on the other hand, and psychedelics, and psychotropics, ayahuasca, and others are used for psychinetics, psychic traveling, psychic exploration. A psychonaut, which I consider myself to be, is a adventurer through psychology and consciousness. Mysticism are the methods and practices that allow us to gain union with consciousness, union with spiritual concepts, and union with spiritual experience. rather than just know about them. So this section of the book that it starts to conclude with goes into what mysticism is and how it works and why it's different. Why learn mysticism? This is explained. Here's an image of William Blake, who was a mystic, beautiful artist. The Ancient of the Days, 1794. Blake was a mystic, poet, and artist. How does mysticism work? We get some references to physics and energy. This one we got to click on because it wouldn't come up on the ebook. Again, this shows the dissension and creation of matter, how matter actually functions. This is kind of fun. Shows you how we go from a gluon, a muon, a virtually subtle bodied piece of energy to an atom, to a physical matter of crystal. Now, when I began learning physics in my youth, they're always looking for the original substance. The gluon, the muon, I can't think of the word suddenly, it's not. The Great Hadron Collider in Switzerland, which I got to visit at CERN, is always in search of that. And they did indeed now find it. They found the tiniest particle where all the other particles come from, which is the string theory concepts and all that. So this is kind of summarized in this section too. And again, not to get all boring scientific and all nerdy, try to keep it fun, exciting, and relating to how it factors into consciousness. Again, that image shows the progression of matter. And now for the initiated. Read that first line there. Esoteric knowledge, meaning knowledge for the initiated, or mystical knowledge, is that knowledge that teaches us how to break down our beliefs about reality so we can begin to see it for the illusion that it is. It removes ignorance. The word guru is a Sanskrit word. It is 2 syllables, gu and ru. And those syllables separately mean the one who removes ignorance. That's what guru means. Which is why within the portal, I differentiate between lowercase guru and higher case guru. Anyone that teaches and provides you knowledge and destroys your ignorance can be considered as a guru, a teacher. I even have a student that referred to me as guru, and I was like, no, I'm not a guru. Don't refer. We both agreed that she could do that if she referred to me in the lowercase. So we joke around. She refers to me as the lowercase g guru, not higher case. Higher case, capitalized guru for me, it was reserved for those who are enlightened, masters that are one with knowledge. They're not people. They don't have human conscience. They're not stupid humans. Esoteric knowledge means knowledge for the initiated. Destroying the ignorance. Removing the illusion of what we perceive to be real that is not actually real. Keep in mind that as many neophyte mystics and many throughout the world persist in this concept that the material reality is an illusion, it doesn't exist, it's fake. That is not what the Vedas actually say. They quote the Vedas, they quote the Upanishads, they quote the Shastras, they quote this to support this argument, this perspective. And many of the sages and saints that did, like Shankaracharya, that taught this. But they weren't saying that this other part is not true. They're projecting and providing you with the basics of it. What the Vedas and Upanishads actually say is that how you perceive the world, what you perceive it as, is the illusion. The world is real. It is a real, tangible, existing thing. A mindless, unsoulful part of the phenomena of God's creation. It is real. Don't think that it doesn't exist. Try to walk through a wall and tell me it's not real. It is motherfucking real. You will bump your head. What's illusion, what the Vedas actually say is that how you perceive it, your subjective perception of it is the illusion. What you think and feel about it is the illusion. What mysticism and these spiritual practices does is removes this illusion, how you perceive it, and reveals to you how it really is. What a Buddha experiences in the moment of enlightenment is the removal of the veils of ignorance. The illusion is destroyed. They see it for what it really is, all at once. To simplify for us stupid humans, they simplify it to something we can understand more easily, that the material phenomenon is simply an illusion. It doesn't exist. It's a ghost, a phantom. And we manifest it in our own minds. It's too complicated usually to give what I'm explaining. That wasn't the Buddha's mission. That was more Shankaracharya's mission, but not Buddha's. They were contemporaries. So this final chapter of this particular book, The Initiated, for the Initiated, takes you to a higher level. It's now time to put the knowledge to practice. I'm not just going to teach you the theory. I'm going to give you things you can do and use to get something out of it. So first I explain, and I give you an example with the Tree of Life, Kabbalah's Tree of Life, and how this is a system for the initiated to use to develop your consciousness. Tool to use, a literal tool to use to develop your consciousness. And then we get into the meditations. In this final section, I give you the base on how to meditate. You can see the image here, somebody sitting in what we regularly kind of accept as a meditation position. Spine straight. You're not sitting in the lotus position. I couldn't even do it since I was a kid. I have no flexibility, never had it. I got big knees. This section explains to you how to do these things and adapt to them. Again, when I first heard about sitting, what I was told was Indian style, which, by the way, being a kid from Arizona as a child, I thought they literally meant like natives, Native Americans. I didn't know what Indian meant. I thought they meant, because that's what I saw like in all the Western movies, that's what Indian said anyway. So that's kind of what I thought. Indian style was what I was referred to when I was a child. And I couldn't sit cross-legged. It was very uncomfortable for me. I certainly couldn't meditate that way because all I could think about is, oh my God, my legs are stiff, my back is stiff, this is hard for me, I'm uncomfortable. That's what's distracting me. I can't meditate on that during that. So what this section provides to you is how to gain the skills to do this without being able to do it perfectly as described. You don't need to be able to sit in the full lotus position or even a half lotus. I can assure you of that. But you do need to sit with your spine straight. And this explains to you how and why. How to do this. And again, you can see her sitting on a cushion. She's not a yogi sitting on a mud floor in a cave, sitting on a rock. She's sitting on a cushion in a half lotus or just cross-legged position with her spine straight. And that's why I use this image, because it shows you the very simple way where you can get all the benefits. So we need to learn how to do it properly. And this section is teaching you that. And it gives you different meditations, how to meditate on nothingness and how to meditate on everythingness. What's that one? And how to meditate on life. And then advanced meditations. How to meditate on mind, the concept of mind. Mind 2, more advanced meditation for this. And motion. What is motion? Let me give an example. These are not passive meditations. These are active. I'm giving you something to think about, to shut your brain off and empty your mind. Years of students coming to me and saying, like, I suck at this. I can't meditate. Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I suck at this. I can't empty my mind. I'm thinking my coffee, my kids, my work. I can't get to shut off. One thought after another, they just keep coming in. I'm like, that's because you're doing the wrong thing. You're not doing the wrong way. You're doing the wrong thing. You can't, you're right. You can't do that. Don't try. Instead of giving them active meditations, instead of shutting the mind off, I'm guiding it, directing it to spiritual things, meditative concepts. The nature of your mind is to think and feel. That's what it does. If you're conscious and awake, that's what it's going to do. Even when you're unconscious and asleep, it's what it's going to do. Nonstop. That's what it does. Cats don't bark, dogs don't meow. They're not built that way. Your mind will think and feel. That's what it does. You can't get it not to do that. While that is technically possible, it is nearly impossible to do. Nearly. And it'll take you a lifetime to try and do it. And you'll make a tiny bit of progress, most people, unless you're going to live in a cave in Tibet. What I'm giving you in these meditations is things to focus on that are spiritual in mind, that are conscious, that are ethereal, that are subtle, that are mind-blowing, that transcend the material phenomena. And doing this in a way that you can do it in a practical way. And look at how short they are. My first mind one is a paragraph. It sounds easy, but 5 to 10 seconds. So what I describe here, at the end of it, the final thing, as I say, it sounds very easy, but 5 to 10 seconds is very tough. When you try it, you realize, again, you're gonna be like, I can't do this. I can't pull this off. Stick with it. Yes, you can. So again, this book concludes with some meditation exercises, giving you practical experience, methods you can sample and try. Mind one, oh no, I messed up on the ebook. I repeated the final section. And finally, there are some promotions for my books within the portal, which you can get out of it. Some information about me, your author, and the other books and things and the readings that I have. So let's stop the share. And there we are. We've been at this for over an hour and a half now. I think it's time to wrap up. Any questions, any comments, any suggestions? Is that because I'm thorough or excellent? Yes.
Okay. The image of the coccyx. Honestly, I didn't see how that was a half. It looked like it was 4. How is that a half? Are we?
I agree. I see 4 some, but that one at the bottom is so tiny. I think that constitutes as a half.
Okay. All right.
It really is tiny.
Okay.
And again, I don't know the 360-degree. I haven't been able to open up a body and look at a coccyx. And again, it's not that the Upanishads and the Kundalini Yoga textbooks are saying to you that this is the coccyx. They don't even know what the coccyx is back then. All right. We're talking not just ancient time, we're talking primordial. And so what they're saying is the Kundalini energy resides dormantly within the Muladhara chakra, the base of the spine. That happens to be in the location of our tailbone, which is our coccyx. And again, the ascending and descending nerve, which is how Kundalini and spiritual energy works, you're literally taking this primordial energy and you're driving it up through the ascending nerve channel, the ascending channel, into the brain, into the mind, and then you're forcing it back down, so it begins a circuit and begins to move. And again, we've gone through in our Kundalini class. We're going to go into detail here. And so the Upanishads and the Kundalini Yoga text, the darshans, explain that the Kundalini energy is represented by the serpent, called 3.5 times upon itself. And what you do is you try to wake it up, trying to arouse it, agitate it, so it becomes uncoiled and begins to travel and reach up. So for me, I don't think I'm reaching here. I see the similarity. I would say that you could say technically 4 sections, and I would say that bottom section is so tiny that constitutes a half. And I'd like to see the other side of it as well. Maybe I'm rationalizing. There's the answer.
I don't think so. I mean, I could see how it's smaller.
And I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that top part. Again, I'm not a biologist. I'm not an orthopedist. I've done some studying. That top part, while it is part of the tailbone, it is also the beginning of the actual spine. So maybe that's what they mean. Maybe that's how it works. And again, I'm not saying that the Sanatan Dharmas, the yogis that explain in the darshans how Kundalini works, they're not referring to the physical body. They're not. I'm drawing these illusions. I'm drawing these connections. I'm studying research. I'm seeing them. So I'm displaying them.
Okay, thanks.
And I can tell you that as told in the book, Within the Portal, when I had my spinal fusion surgery, the ascending and descending nerve within my spine were being strangled. They were choked. The swelling of the disc that had to be removed from my spine was pinching and literally closing off, like choking it, of my ascending and descending nerve. And that's why it's so dangerous. And again, the difference between us and every living animal is we are upright. This upright, when we became walking, standing individuals, is when our psychospiritual energy could flow. This is what Tai Chi and all these other schools teach us about the flow of energy. Now, our distant so-called cousin, the ape family, they're primates. And yet, while they can get upright, they don't spend their life that way. They are bent over. They're mostly on all fours, and then they can also be upright. We are almost exclusively that way. And so this milestone in our evolution is when we became capable of conscious and spiritual thought, because it allowed our psychospiritual energy to be able to flow from our primordial source into our mind, into our brain. Anything else?
Well, without getting into a whole discussion, I'm making the direct connection for the first time between the kundalini and the vagus nerve. And I think the vagus nerve is one and the same.
What is the vagus nerve?
And it's something that's, I'm hearing more and more being
I'm
discussed.
assuming when you say vagus nerve that has to do with vagina.
No, it's the main nerve that goes down our bodies.
So, and again,
Vagus, Vagus, Vegas.
So not where you go gamble or where I might go to find. I'm gonna go there. So again, in biology, we learned that we have an ascending nerve and a descending nerve, and we have a central nerve. Okay, we have three of them. And again, coincidentally, Sun and Dharmas are teaching this in Kundalini Yoga, the exact same thing. Again, the Ida, Pingala, and the Sushumna. They're describing these things, and again, on a subtle body level. And so they're superimposed upon the physical body, superimposed upon the energy body. So exactly. So explain to me again about that center. What about it?
The vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve in our body, running from the brain, to the abdomen. It's being credited for being responsible for our mind-body connection, and it's the major component of the automatic nervous system.
Right. And so from that is where all the nerve ganglia kind of splinters off from, into your hands and your fingers and your legs and all. So this is again the central nervous system, and everything branches off from there. Now, and again, while you can say that, and I'm referring to this within the text, and I'm probably of that name too. I haven't read it last night. Is that while it says, does it say that it terminates within the abdomen?
I think so, actually.
Because I'm pretty sure that the central nervous system, the CNS, the main core of it, it doesn't do anything physiologically. They wouldn't say that it has any, but the physical nerve itself originates again in the coccyx.
Well, it's something to be learned more about, obviously.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, even if we say in the abdomen, which is where your I always forget the name of this chakra, Manipura, which is your will. And again, we have physical organs that correspond to our chakras. Your heart chakra, your throat chakra, all these things. And again, there is the subtle aspect, the energy aspect, and the physical aspect. They're intertwined. And again, I've seen the evidence of this. Healing can be done in both ways. If you've got a problem, and again, Tai Chi and acupuncture and acupressure are profound at this. Before I went and had surgery, which I had to have, acupuncture and acupressure was making tremendous progress for me. It made it so I could walk again. That's where I first went when I was paralyzed. It couldn't solve the problem. I had to have the surgery. And again, the point is that they're all connected. Sometimes you need to address the physical because it's so severe. And sometimes you can fix the physical by addressing the subtle part, and vice versa. Sometimes you can fix the subtle part by fixing the physical part because they're all intertwined. The energy again is flowing in and out, flowing in both directions. So we can sometimes fix a physical problem, which will automatically correct a subtle body problem. And sometimes we have to fix a subtle problem to be able to fix a physical problem.
They're all connected.
They're all connected. And again, my kundalini event was not just a psycho-spiritual event. It was physically very demanding. And I'll tell you, in many ways, painful. As the energy circulated in its circulation around my body through the chakras, and I didn't feel it going up and down. I felt it going in a circle. Okay. When it would come down to the Muladhara chakra, it would go around and rotate, and then it would go to the Muladhara chakra, and it would become like a weight. And best way I can describe it, I literally felt like somebody taken barbell weights and tied them to my nutsack. It was heavy and it was painful. I mean, like gut wrenching, like, oh my God. And I found that the only way to make it stop was to get in motion, move around, and to be creative. When I would think and feel and create things, write, draw, whatever, and get some motion instead of sitting there, then it would go away. I'd get to move around it, and I could physically feel the Kundalini energy moving around my body. And I'm saying, again, I'm not saying conceptually, I'm saying I could physically feel it moving around. Pretty intense. So again, they're both connected, to say the least, yes. And rather than, again, I did not simply address my recovery from my accident medically. I went through both approaches. I used Ayurvedics. I used acupuncture and acupressure, but it wasn't enough. Neither was medical science. Between the combination of spinal fusion surgery, which was essential, I was never going to walk again. That's a fact. But my results were exponentially better than most other people's because I also did subtle body work, Ayurvedics, acupuncture, acupressure, herbs. The only medicine, Western medicine that I took some pain meds for maybe a few days, and I wouldn't take any more because I didn't like the way it affected my mind. And again, I have no more pain. I have few limitations because of the spinal surgery and the other things that I've had. My miracle recovery and the progress that I've made is, I absolutely attribute it to, which is explained within the portal, to the combination, the synthesis of Western with Eastern. Now, again, I wasn't going to go to a witch doctor and you rely completely on spiritual healing or subtle body or energy healing. Neither was going to rely exclusively on Western medicine, which is too dry and academic. For me, personally, it was about a 70-30. About a 30% Western medicine and about 70% Eastern. That's what worked for me. I would not and do not prescribe to anybody or direct them to rely exclusively on Ayurvedics, even though I teach it and I use it profoundly. When somebody's sick and they're injured, I say, go to a friggin' doctor. Go see a physician, All right. I think we should wrap up. Now, we did not get to above and below. We may have an extra class on that. This is the next workbook, with really the symmetry and a relationship between physics and metaphysics. The above and below is where I get to enjoy and explain in this workbook the symmetry between physics and metaphysics. How, as I'm describing, biology works within the subtle body and energy body, and how the exact same thing above and below, how the metaphysical correlates to the physical. And again, it's poetic. It's just gorgeous how these things become undeniable. So maybe we'll do a whole separate class on that, since I seem to be able to get a lot of material of each one. Then we'll do the other ones one by one. All right. We'll take a vote and we'll see.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for coming. I'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye, Randy.